Well, first of
Thanks.
all, welcome everyone to the Unemployable podcast, where we talk about whatever Sam wants to talk about, which is mostly business, betting on yourself, starting stuff, going for it. Patrick, my lovely co-host, is here with me today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Patrick. Doesn't feel as much like morning to me as it does to you, but that's all right.
Yeah, bright and early still over here.
Yeah, you were in Nepal recently. How was your
Yeah,
trip?
it was good. I think last night was the first normal night of sleep back.
Nice.
It's a pretty good readjustment with jet lag.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough one.
That's a long way away.
Yeah, I've done that trip quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
and last time I was there, it was in February of 2020.
oh wow. Oh yeah. You were you kind of got out before things shut down by the skin of
Yeah.
your teeth.
Yeah, I went to Russia in that January, and then that February I was in. I went to Nepal, but I went through Thailand and out through India. So
Mm-hmm.
I hit a few little Asian countries, as not little,
Yeah.
as the pandemic was closing in on everyone.
The
And
day I was
some people that were coming to Nepal with me canceled because the Kathmandu airport put in these like body scanners, like temperature scanners, and
mm-hmm.
it was like they stated if you have a fever, so not
Mm-hmm.
even test positive because there weren't tests yet,
Right.
but if you have a fever, you have to go to the hospital for 14 days.
It's crazy. Where
So
you're
people were like, I'm not going.
Yeah, where you're
I'm
for
like,
sure gonna contract something.
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go. That's fine. I probably won't have a fever. I was also delivering money to someone, so I was like, they need this money. Like Asia's about to get shut down. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go and take it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So glad I did.
Nerve wracking.
But it was a lonely trip. It was like I'm really just here to deliver this, and then I'm just gonna sit at my hotel. One night I like woke up the hotel guys to open the gym for me. It was like 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, can I use the gym? And they're like, it doesn't open till 7. And I just like stood there awkwardly and didn't really say anything. And then they're like, okay.
I think I probably bothered those same hotel guys to convince
Yeah,
them to let me onto the roof.
different hotel, but
Yeah.
same posture for sure.
Did you stay in Tamil in Kathmandu?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah, different hotel then.
yeah,
That's a big city, turns out.
it is. Yeah, I've stayed in 3 different places there. And then we went up to Pokhara area, stayed at a cool place there.
Awesome.
But I got super sick out there because um, somebody convinced me to eat some fried fish from a roadside stand.
Oops.
Yeah, Solon convinced me to do that. This old Nepali guy,
Uh-huh.
and he felt so bad once he realized how sick I got. And then on the drive back to Kathmandu the next day, there was a landslide, and we got stuck in traffic for like 8 hours. And it was just like stop and go. I was like just like rolling out of the seat on the
Oh,
in the Land Cruiser. It was awful.
it's the worst when you're dealing with any kind of food poisoning and you're stuck in
Yeah.
a vehicle somewhere like that. I remember Jake was I think in Togo, but like way back in the countryside, and he was just so ill, and the roads are so rough, and the
So rough.
car ride is so long. Oh,
So he was with me on that trip that I got sick, and we shared a room that was kind of connected by a bathroom in the middle.
yeah.
He woke up and he's like, "Is somebody dying?"
Oh no.
No,
You're like sort of.
unfortunately, I wish I was.
Yeah, I'm in
Um,
that like sickness space where I'm like, do I have a parasite? Is this still just jet lag? I
it's
didn't
probably just
drink
jet
any
lag.
water. It's probably
Yeah.
just jet lag. Who knows? It was good
So,
though.
a couple things I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Um, I mostly want to talk about how I'm trying to scale my business and kind of the ways that I could do that. So, but I also had this James Clear quote I wanted to bring up. This was in his like weekly email a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago.
Okay.
The most valuable habit is to know which habits to focus on.
Mm.
And it just makes me think of things that I've like implemented as new habits in seasons. And it might even be something like exercise. You know, maybe you
Yeah.
want to exercise 5 times a week and you're like really practicing that as a habit until it feels kind of natural, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or you're picking up your running again to train for something, and it feels like you're forcing it most of the time, and so you're like practicing that habit until it feels
Yeah.
like there is just some like, kind of intrinsic motivation for it.
Totally. What is that for you right now that you're
Yeah, the
working
main
on?
habit I'm like really practicing right now. There's always things I'm practicing, and always like things at home we're trying to get better at. I mean, even if it's just like in the way we speak to each other or things like that, we're always trying to
Hmm.
grow in those kind of ways. But what I'm practicing right now is being very consistent on Instagram.
Hmm.
And this is something that's a big deal for my performance coach as well. And he's a real estate guy, but we mostly talk about like brand building. That's mostly what we're focusing on,
Sure.
is like building the brand of me and of my real estate business. It's mostly me though. So
Hmm.
what I'm focusing on Instagram is 4 to 5 stories a day, and then those kind of have a framework to follow, mostly just to make it like to show that I'm super consistent, that I do the
Yeah.
same thing every morning, that I exercise nearly every day, that I read or journal or do the same thing to finish my day. And it's easy to feel like, oh, if I just do this thing every day on Instagram, like it just seems redundant. Like the people that know me are just gonna like roll their eyes at it. But the people that know me, they either like me or don't. And they either watch it and they're like, oh, this is cool, or they watch it and they're like, oh, Sam's really trying to build something, or they just don't even watch it, and that's okay too, right?
Sure. Yeah, they're communicating with you via other
Yeah.
channels. Yeah.
And most of them that are communicating with me through other channels, I think of like Troy and Donovan, they're like, I love your stories. It's like,
Yeah.
that's it. And there's no like question of my intent or like what I think is going to be out there from the public. It's kind
Hmm.
of interesting. But that consistency is challenging. It's easy to kind of negotiate with myself about those things
Okay.
whenever they feel uncomfortable or redundant or not. Sometimes they feel 60% genuine,
Hmm.
and I still just want to do it
Yeah.
at that point, right?
Okay. That makes sense.
And then 2 posts a week, and one of those posts is kind of industry specific, so like real estate, because that's what I can really speak about from a somewhat place of authority. And then the other is more like my coach calls it life and wisdom. So it might be like it still might be about real estate or about
Hmm.
YouTube, but it's a little more philosophical. And that's super comfortable for me because I like to ramble on camera.
Hmm.
And I
um,
like to do those as videos most of the time.
sure.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about stories versus reels versus posts?
Yeah. Well, stories, the most valuable thing about stories is that people are used to them daily. People are
Hmm.
comfortable viewing them daily, and you get to see who views them.
Yeah.
So, like, my big goal with Instagram is attracting agents because we'll get into that part of how I can scale. Attracting agents, and then I can see, oh, these agents are watching. Then, oh, let me throw out a question that I think some of them might be interested in.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I've struggled to implement is like an ask me everything. And my coach is like, just every Monday, just do an ask me anything.
Yeah.
I think it said ask me everything the first time. Ask me everything. No, ask me anything. And I've struggled to kind of get those words out because I don't just want to say ask me anything. I want to like give a little framework to it.
Hmm.
But I did it yesterday, and then one of those agents had a question about YouTube. And then I get to like make another story responding to that question,
Sure. Sure.
all those kind of things.
Yeah, and that's the kind of connection that you're aiming for on
Yeah.
most of those platforms, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially there on Instagram. I guess all that stuff goes to Facebook as well, and then I
Yeah.
catch up with Facebook messages eventually.
Are you doing anything on Twitter or cross-posting to Twitter?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Um, one recently I heard Alex Hormozy talk about Twitter, and somebody asked him if his video idea process is public, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, it's on Twitter." He's like, "I put every idea that turns into a video on Twitter,"
Oh, interesting.
but that's just his flow of ideas.
Hmm.
And I kind of want this podcast to be more of that. I want this to kind of be my like first place of ideas.
Sure.
Then I want them to get just kind of refined as they go down into other platforms.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool.
He also has a podcast, but it's solo.
Really? Just
Yeah,
monologue.
it's just monologue. But he'll share if he's on another podcast or if he speaks at an event or something like that. He'll put that on there.
Hmm.
But it was just monologue, like teaching style for like 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Cool. Check it out.
Yeah. So yeah, all of that on Instagram. I mean, all of my content on YouTube is to attract clients. All the content on Instagram is to attract agents. And we've talked about it a little bit. Like my broker has ways to monetize those agents coming in,
Mm-hmm.
but it still just takes that consistency and then starting to treat that like a business, right? So that I know those agents that are interacting,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can put them in like my database and categorize them as like cold, warm, hot. Start actually engaging with them more intentionally.
Yeah.
Start, actually reaching out, seeing if I can actually add value, and all those things. I'm also practicing. So in my brokerage, there's a couple groups I'm involved in, mostly related to the guys right above me, and there's a lot of people in there that have YouTube channels, and I offer to help a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that is me just practicing that kind of help,
Yeah.
coaching, and
Sure.
influence.
Yeah.
Like, can I hear what they're working on and then provide some value and help them think about it a little bit different? And so some of that is me. I had a call with somebody yesterday that's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has a cool channel, and just was able to like talk to him for 40 minutes and give him a lot of ideas and like help him kind of build some potential of what he's shooting for. So that's fun.
Yeah. It seems altruistic, but how is that helping you sort of work a creative muscle for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, it's helping me know what kind of questions people have.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do I provide value to the questions people have but they're not asking?
Mm-hmm.
But then it also just helps me with confidence of like, okay, I know if I add an agent, I can actually help them.
Yeah.
It kind of helps me overcome a little bit of imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big obstacle for me a lot of the time.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and knowing that that help is replicable between a lot of different scenarios, and that because it might be easy to start believing that your success was a fluke too if you weren't
Yeah.
working that muscle of helping other people.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and we all know that like basic principle of like teaching, like learning through teaching something. So it's even me just like,
Mm-hmm.
can I teach this and like prove to myself that I really know it?
Totally. Yeah, you're supposed to retain like 80% more information if you teach it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have this question too of like when there's no motivation to do those kind of posts or to just push myself. And we've talked about too like being like lazy in success, which is like such a champagne problem, but it still is like, no, I want more, but I don't have this kind of drive all the time to reach for more.
Mm-hmm.
But why would I expect to have that drive to reach for more, right?
Yeah. Unless you developed through habituation a really robust muscle,
Yeah.
so that you're not being constantly fed or led by your emotional state.
Yeah.
I think for me, I have to do, and I don't know what it is in terms of repetition, but I have to do something enough that it's no longer led by my emotions and it's just a default. Like it's ingrained in my body, and my body needs it or is willing to engage that pain or that difficulty because it's become such a routine and such a rhythm, and the payoff has been proven frequently.
Yeah, but what does the payoff have to be proven to keep doing it? You know what I mean?
I think it needs to be tangible. Yeah. It doesn't have to be full. It doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be like the pinnacle or the entirety of success, but it needs to be tangible. Like I need to go on a run 1 out of 5 times and feel good in my body to justify the other 4, you know?
Yeah.
Like there needs to be, or or if it's all pain, then I need to change something up. I need to pay
Yeah.
attention to that feedback and adjust something in diet or in sleep or in form. Um, if it's only pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you could also just trick yourself a little bit, right? You could you could do a run, you could design a run and pace, a distance and pace that you think, oh, and
Mm-hmm.
at a time of day that's like optimum conditions,
Yeah.
right? You could
Mm-hmm.
have like that's your Monday run as optimum conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, my coach and I have been talking about that. It's like whenever you have momentum or motivation, you just like ride the hell out of it
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna disappear so fast.
For sure. Yeah. I think a lot of creatives talk about that too, like that muse that's very fleeting, and if you're waiting for it, like I think if you wait around for it to show up, it shows up less frequently. If you continue to show up with consistency and do the work no matter what, I think that um, that muscle becomes so robust that
Yeah.
what you interpreted earlier on as insight or creative, like light bulb moments starts happening more frequently. And I don't think that's like a unique revelation to anybody, but
Yeah.
it is consistent in every discipline that I've ever stuck with consistently is like you earn that breakthrough.
Yeah. You definitely do. Casey Neistat was on the Flagrant podcast recently, Andrew
Mm-hmm.
Schultz's podcast,
Yeah.
and Casey, most well known for his daily vlog. He did 800 days in a row of daily vlogging,
Yeah.
and so many of these are like cinematic storytelling masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
But by just creating that constraint of I do this, this is something that I do every single day.
Yeah.
It created this artistic outflow and this like philosophical thought about his life and about the world around him and
Yeah.
about the business he was building and the changes that were happening. But just creating that framework is kind of what made it doable. And it wasn't the framework was just this is what happens. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
do this no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really impressive. I don't think I'm that disciplined yet to do
Sure.
something like that. Um, which isn't to say like uh, I have to achieve something before I could do something like that. It's just a reflection on my own self discipline.
Yeah.
Any of us could do it, technically, but
Right.
it's impressive when somebody actually follows through to that extent. 800 days is nuts.
It's nuts. And he was just like hardly sleeping and
Right,
yeah.
because they are. I've seen a lot of those, and they are some of them cinematically like really incredible. And the post
Yeah.
on those, it's crazy. He probably
Yeah.
wasn't great to live with for 800 days.
No. No. It took him like an hour per minute of editing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about
So
right.
if the video is, 6 minutes long, it took him 6 hours to edit.
It's
This is
crazy.
average.
And it took him. I mean, that's a full work day, I guess. If that's the only thing you're doing is spending 8 hours doing this thing, 8 to 10 hours, then
Yeah, but
cool.
shooting and like keeping the story going, all those kind of things is so challenging.
It's nuts. What
Nuts.
else are you looking at in habit space? What else are you building?
Hmm. What else am I building?
I
You
guess
know,
you already have a handful of habits that you're
yeah, we
maintaining.
all have habits though. That's something I'm realizing as I'm thinking more about this. Like, and I'm trying to look at like what do I do consistently every day? We all
Hmm.
do the same things pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Now, whether those things are dictated by some kind of outside force, like an emotion or
Hmm.
like the weather, is one thing. But, if they're dictated by you, it's a different thing.
Hmm.
But it's the same thing with our thoughts. Like, have you heard that stat of like we think, you know, it's like 30,000 thoughts a day, and like 70% of them are the same thoughts you had the previous day?
That's kind of depressing.
It's super depressing. But yeah, we naturally do the same things over and over again because
Yeah.
it's just like a shortcut in our day and our minds. And that's even we do that in relationships, and we do that in I mean our body does that with like neurotransmitters, all those kind of things.
Totally.
It's a very like evolutionarily significant thing. But yeah, what are you consciously focusing on and building in the midst of that is kind of what I've been trying to think about.
Yeah, yeah. And how aware are you of those patterns? Um,
Yeah. And yeah, do you see the patterns and you're like, I like this? Or do you see the patterns and think, I want to change this?
yeah.
And then how do you react based on that?
I was thinking, I was talking to a friend last night, and I think I need to. So my habits right now are um, running, training for a race. That's like most of my physical activity is dictated by that. Um, and like after action reports. Those are kind of like the
Yeah,
two habits in my life. Jumping back into reports because that didn't happen in Nepal.
sure.
Well, one night it did.
Nice.
Um, but realizing that awareness of patterns and behaviors is something that I I'm not very present with or aware of generally unless I write it down and start recognizing the patterns. So I just think it's simple, but I need to start journaling and creating a habit of journaling just to process through parts of my life that are on autopilot from
Yeah.
yeah, more or less.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts. I mean, but even you probably have a habit of like how much water you drink in a day.
Yeah.
And you probably typically do that at the same times each day.
Mhm.
And you might be looking for some kind of cue in your body, and
Mhm.
your body tells you you're thirsty, or you actually just consciously drink water at that time
Yeah.
of day, right?
It's incredible like how intelligent our bodies are, but it's also surprising how efficient and how often our bodies and our brains are like following the path of least resistance and aiming towards comforts.
Hmm.
Um, and those aren't always in our best long-term interests. So interrupting those patterns of seeking comfort to do something for the long-term success of your
Yeah.
body and your brain.
Yeah, I've been feeling kind of a higher level of anxiety over the past couple days. Life stuff, but also, I don't know. And I notice whenever I feel anxiety, I sleep less, I eat less, and I want to work out more.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you think the sleep makes sense. Why do you think you eat less?
Because I want to think instead of eat.
Because there's not time to eat.
I just stop thinking about it. I stop remembering to eat.
Oh, okay. Because you're so fixated on the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
like working on thoughts in my head. And that's also why I want to go to the gym because that's a really productive thinking time for me.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Hmm.
But then I just get run down and I like start losing weight.
Yeah.
I don't really want to lose weight.
I was listening to this guy. Oh, what's this doctor's name? Peter Attia. Have you listened to him talk about
Yeah, the longevity
longevity?
guy.
Uh-huh. And he was talking about VO2 max thresholds and like basically this cardio space that if you're doing this type of cardio and your VO2 max is at this threshold, your 5 time like your mortality rate goes down by 5x or something.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's like the gains there are more significant than if you stopped smoking.
Yeah.
It's wild. And he also talks about strength training and like how that affects longevity and like not necessarily mass but actual strength.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, like
interesting.
grip strength,
Yeah.
some other things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to dig into that a little bit more. I don't have any like hot takes or interesting factoids for the
Yeah.
audience. I'm just
I
curious about it.
I want to do more cardio. I don't really need to do
Mm,
much, but I'm gonna get a stationary bike at the new house
cool.
because I'll have room for it, like the
Yeah.
Concept 2 bike.
What's that? Is that like an air bike?
Concept 2, no, I mean similar. Concept 2 is they mostly make rowers. They're a big like stationary rowing company.
Uh-huh.
I think Tanner had one of their rowers for a while.
Yeah,
He
like a
vintage one.
water rower.
No, it's air, but
Okay.
it's like the ones that like a rower would train on,
Okay.
like an Olympic rower would train on these. And they use that same technology to make a bike, a stationary bike, and they use it to make a ski erg too, where you like pull down.
Yeah, yeah. I like the
So
ski ergs. I use that at the rock
yeah,
gym.
yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
So they make a bike that's set. It's this you sit on it like a road bike.
Okay.
So you're not moving your arms. You're not sitting like super upright. You're leaning, a little bit more of a, you
Sure.
know, athletic or speed posture, like however you think of that.
Yeah.
But
Do,
I'm excited about that.
do you know how to measure your VO2 max, or do you have to go into like a?
I don't know. I don't even
Okay.
care. I'm sure you could go somewhere and do it.
Yeah, because I think you've got to be like outfitted with a
Yeah, I think
full
so.
face mask, monitor, and then I think you just like they put you on a bike and you pedal to failure. I think.
It might take a while.
I think you're supposed to like push really hard in your
Uh,
whatever your top threshold is. I don't know. All right.
Well, I want to talk about real estate
Okay, let's
because
talk
that's
about it.
my business, and I want your outside perspective on how I can do everything differently than everyone else does it.
Yeah. All right.
I have this obstacle where I just don't have an example of what I'm looking for,
Hmm.
what I want to build. Like I'm not seeing anyone else build it.
Okay.
I'm seeing some pieces of it in some places, but not much. So I had this girl on the podcast recently. That episode will go out in like 2 weeks with Shelby Johnson. She's a realtor, and then pretty quickly once she got into real estate, she was doing a lot of investing, and then she built like a real estate team.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty typical team where she brought in a bunch of leads for these agents. She took a cut of it. She took a cut of everything else they did too.
Mm-hmm.
But they were part of the 5 pillars team, and 5 pillars were really defined and interesting and very vision driven. She
And this
reached
is
a point where
the name of her company.
yeah, the 5 pillars team.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
But then she moved it away from Keller Williams and came to EXP, where there's a little bit more incentive on bringing agents. And what she did was she just changed it to, instead of like a team hierarchy, it was just like a revenue share model. Hey, you want to be a pillar? You get all this stuff. You just have to join the downline. We don't want a cut of anything you do. Like, just come be a pillar, help us build this brand.
Hmm.
Super interesting model. She kind of got burned out with that too, and just felt like it was like boring. Like these people aren't building real businesses. They're not like. She's like, how do I help them actually like be business people,
Yeah.
push themselves, or how do I find the people that are already want to do that? So they kind of changed up what the pillars are, and now what they want to build. She's describing it as a movement, and it's super interesting
Hmm.
because she just wants to help entrepreneurs connect with each other.
Yeah.
Like, let's just create this community of people that can agree on these things and that like love to build things in the real estate space, in the business space, wherever. And it's super interesting, but I'm excited to share with her some of my experience with like big organizational changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about that off of the podcast since, but there's some parts of that I really like. That kind of like leadership, just leading at a vision level, leading at like an example and vision level, and like building this brand, something that she's doing now.
Hmm.
I like that, but it's still like a little too. It's like an overcorrection to me or something.
How? I guess I don't totally understand in that new form.
Yeah.
If there's not, is there no profit sharing in that form?
Well, still, any agents that are in her downline, she has revenue share with them.
Okay.
So she has like 116 agents in her downline right now.
Uh huh.
So she probably makes 20,000 a month
Yeah.
on those agents.
Just on that revenue share.
Yeah, but and then in that scenario, she's incentivized to make sure they're succeeding, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's just trying to like take that to another level of like how do we just like build a community that like helps all these agents succeed in the ways they want to succeed, and not like just by following some model.
Yeah, it seems like a similar place that you're at, where you need to scale your own influence so that all of your time isn't one-on-ones, but you still need that ground level so that your awareness isn't out of date or out of sync so that you're still growing as well. And it just
Yeah.
seems um, like big group training seminars, spaces where she's available for Q&A, setting some goals like as a group and projecting like what growth is going to benefit people. Because I mean, I would imagine if she could get 5% better performance from each of those people in her downline, or 2%
Yeah.
better performance
Yeah.
from each of those people in her downline, that's going to have a significant change in her income, in her capacity to utilize new tools to scale, to build systems, to build.
Yeah, for sure. And then she can grab some of the people within there and help
Mhm.
them build other tools, right?
Yeah,
Because it creates this community vibe where it's like we all succeed. Super
right.
communist, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long way from communism, but yeah.
Nope, it's communism.
The-
It's either communism or it's a cult.
I think we're so familiar with like this like gross individualism that we've grown up within, that anything that hints of like helping others is like, well, that's socialism. Like
Yeah.
it's not really.
But also, like, the individualism isn't gross.
I think it can be, though. I think it can
I mean,
become.
anything can be, right?
Sure. I just think capitalism doesn't generally lend itself to like altruistic thought.
Yeah, but I feel like capitalism is more honest. It's honest about that there's winners and losers. Every
I
other
think
system, the winners are in private, winning in private.
I don't know if I agree with that though. I think it appears to be honest, but I think the narrative is really simplified for efficiency. I mean, for efficiency, for the taste of it. I think that narrative gets so simplified.
Sure.
And I think it can be oversimplified to the point where you get a lot of people that have found success, and they might have actually bootstrapped themselves, but they might have had some factors that were aiding them that they don't want to acknowledge or are unaware of.
Yeah.
And then they speak to this swath of humanity like, what's the problem? Why aren't you here with me? And there's so many factors. Like, it's not just like, get your head right and you could be here with me. It's like there's a ton of like socioeconomic factors that are also holding people back.
Yeah.
That I think
I agree.
that-
I think people could be more clear about that. But I think also taking ownership of those things.
Right. But
Because no one else is going to, right?
totally.
It
to
could be
the-
someone else's fault, but it just doesn't matter.
Right. But that doesn't change the fact that you might not have the tools. Like, you could take ownership of the tools that you have, but if you don't have bootstraps to pull yourself up by, it's really difficult to like. It takes longer to stitch those.
Oh,
you
it
know?
definitely takes longer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just that's a more complex narrative to communicate, and some people, I think, are holding that, and some people, societally, I think capitalism is telling the tastier, zingier, simpler
Yeah.
form of that narrative.
So in talking to Shelby about this, one thing I was very clear on is like one of my goals is that when people come into contact with me, when people get to know me, or they just like hear about me or hear me say something, that they would feel empowered to like bet on themselves.
Yeah,
That's it.
totally. And I think
No matter what bootstraps are available to them, that they would feel like, I'm gonna go for it. Like,
Yeah.
I have what it takes, no matter if like the circumstances are super unlucky, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great goal, is to know how you want to make people feel, and that it's positive and productive and like in the interest of moving them forward. I think that's great. I think it just sometimes can become a risk if you ever lose that ground level insight, then you get into space where like you're like, he's done some incredible things in the financial world, but like a Dave Ramsey, I think probably hasn't been in touch with the reality of middle class life in 40
Yeah.
years, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but he's still speaking to people really confidently and like not always kindly, it seems like, and not always like objectively. And that's, I think that's the risk, is like you get to this point of success
Yeah.
and you have a really robust narrative about how you got there, and you've lost touch with what it's like at the ground level.
But I think if Dave Ramsey was like mushy and like unclear, like
Mm-hmm.
let it be super nuanced, he actually wouldn't help as many people. Because he does actually help people because a lot of people didn't see any kind of financial hygiene when they were
Mm-hmm.
kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting counterpoint. I'm gonna mull
Yeah.
that.
It does he to have any kind of brand, you have to like be definitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of have to have like an insane amount of like self belief.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody
So
about.
NBA playoffs are happening right now.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Warriors are playing the Lakers, and the Lakers are up 3-1, which I'm really sad about.
Sorry for your
Not
loss.
that I really like the Warriors, I just really don't like the Lakers,
Okay.
and I just, yeah, whatever.
What?
But there was an article weeks ago about like the difference in the Warriors and other teams, and it's just like extreme self-confidence.
Hmm.
Like they have no doubt that they could beat any team in a series, even though they're super behind right now. But
Hmm.
LeBron probably has that same feeling. It's just like, no, I got this.
Do you think it's more than just Curry?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the whole team. And I think it's the fans too. Like all of it.
Yeah. Where did that come from, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it came even when they won their first title. That was 6, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When they were kind of the small underdogs. They were the Splash Brothers, and it was like they were nothing at that point,
Yeah.
and nobody really knew. Like nobody expected the Warriors to be competitors like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Curry's kind of coming as an underdog a lot of the time. And Thompson, both of them went to small schools. They played a very different game. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think success breeds more success, or do you think the confidence that comes with success is what is generating that continued success?
Sure. I think it's both because, well, so like let's stick with basketball as an example. Like their initial success created confidence, but also created momentum for like other players to join their team.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
oh yeah, let's go over here and win a bunch of rings.
Sure,
Well,
sure. Gave them
they
some market.
won and then they lost a couple years in a row, and then Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City and went there to like so it creates both of those things. Like success creates attention that leads to more opportunity,
Yeah.
but success also creates confidence
Hmm.
that confidence is really just a tool that you have to use in some way, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess you could just
Confidence
bask.
doesn't equal success.
Yeah, totally. You could just bask
Yeah.
in, yeah, the confidence and not do anything with it. You're
Yeah,
totally
and
right.
that's kind of how even like real estate brands are now. Like these old school brands, like all kinds of them, right?
Yeah.
Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, Century 21, like they're just like trying to be the old school, like we got you, we've been around forever, like we're never gonna change, even though
Right.
they're trying to change. That I did that marketing ad for marketing ad, that's pretty redundant. That marketing campaign for Link,
Yeah.
which is like a digital business card company, and the guy that ran that campaign reached out to me because Remax was looking for some like UGC talent, user generated content talent.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, you want to do this paid ad? It was like, we paid like $5,000 to shoot a couple videos. And it was for Remax. It was a TikTok campaign. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Can't do that.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't go down super
Yeah.
well with your
No,
company.
it just wouldn't make any sense.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
so these old school brands are trying to adapt and move into these new spaces, but every real estate company is like brand dominated. So the biggest difference with my company and these others is my company from the beginning was like our brand is our agents. Like go
Yeah.
build whatever brand you want.
Right.
Like be your name, be living in Tampa, we don't care. If if you're putting a sign in these scenarios, you have to put our logo there too. But most of the time, like on videos, I don't ever put my brokerage's logo
Right.
because I'm not explicitly. This is a marketing video for real estate. It's like no, this is more complex content than that, and the
Yeah.
brokerage doesn't care.
Hmm.
But I'm just curious what will change in the industry that's pretty dominated by old school practices and old school ideas. Even the idea of building a team like Shelby did initially is a path I could go down, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple buyers agents that work with me. I have enough clients reach out through YouTube that I could make, a living for 3 or 4 agents.
Yeah.
Then I could add some ad traffic to that. I would just do Google ads
Mm-hmm.
and I could, have more leads. Maybe they're a little lower quality, but we could still close a good percentage of them.
Sure.
So that's a path that you could go down pretty easily, but then you're the team leader. You're relied on to bring in leads. You're relied on to host the team meetings, to provide the marketing materials, to provide this leadership
Sure.
in a very kind of cookie cutter way. Now, of course, you could just do a team and say we're going to do a team super different. And I'm kind of in this obstacle right now where a lot of what I do and a lot of how my agents behave is like a team, but we're not a team. And the biggest difference between us and a team is that I don't get a cut of the rest of their business. So
Yeah.
if they go hustle up some leads themselves, that's theirs.
Yeah.
Since they're in my downline, I'm here to help them.
Sure. What's the benefit of building the team other than the cut of the other jobs?
Yeah, a lot of team leaders, they're building a team to scale their business. So they have a lot of their own business and they eventually just need to bring on agents to help with theirs. And they just
Mhm.
kind of scale that way. And then they build their name into a bigger brand by just having a bigger team that does more volume.
Sure.
So I have a friend that leads a pretty big team, and I brought up recently that I just want to be the most known realtor in Florida among realtors.
Sure.
Like I want every realtor to be like, what is Sam going to do next?
Yeah.
And his first response was like, oh, so do you do that just by like selling a bunch of houses? Like by having a bunch of volume done? And I was like, no, that's not how you do it. Like,
Yeah.
because you have to build a certain framework to have that level of volume. I mean, if I were to close, 300 deals in a year, I'd have to have 10 agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or some other kind of system that does that, and that's just not where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's all just what
So
should I do?
what would the other? So as it is now,
Yeah.
you're considering or already helping the people on your non-team build their own version of what you're building, right?
As long
some
as it's
extent?
not exactly what I have.
Sure.
So, like, if they want to start another YouTube channel, I can't
Mhm.
give them my clients to work with, right?
Yeah.
Because my clients are going to see my videos and call me. And then
Yeah.
if I say, oh, here's this other person, you probably saw his videos too, he's going to take care of you. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm also not okay with, like, somebody, I mean, the competition is not the best word for it, but I'm also just not going to I'm not going to pay my competitor a salary while they build something to compete against me.
Sure. Yeah. That's interesting. How do you incentivize?
So for me, like kind of my team hybrid option is like having a few buyer's agents that get most of my clients, and those are people that want to work with clients,
Yeah.
and those people could easily work 40 hours a week and make 200,000 a year.
Sure.
Very, very doable if they have some good boundaries and good business sense, and if they keep getting better at getting deals under contract. Like
Yeah.
one of my buyer's agents, whenever he first started, it would take 2 weeks of like shopping with a buyer to get them under contract. Now it's 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll get occasionally 3 buyers under contract in one weekend.
Amazing.
Very different kind of flow.
And if that person, if you're finding the people that want to fill that spot on the team, they're like people, they're good at sales. I'm not sure exactly what makes a great buyer's agent, but that seems like if I'm not wanting to do a bunch of administrative and marketing infrastructure, but I love
Yeah.
working with people and I love finding the right space for people, and I'm good at hunting down those homes
Yeah.
and getting people in them. Like that seems like a pretty sweet position to be in, having this like generous funnel of clientele, and then you put the clientele in homes, and it's like pretty. It seems, I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that, but it seems like a pretty clean system.
Yeah, it's not much more complicated than that.
So
Yeah,
that
they're
seems
typically
like,
people that got into real estate because they like something about it.
yeah,
But most people that get into real estate, 95% of people, have no real idea how to find leads other than buying them.
yeah, yeah,
So I have really good leads that are more like clients, and I want to tell a couple stories about them. But it's kind of a dream option if you like the house process. If you
hmm
like working with clients, if you like helping them find a house, if you like that process, it's kind of dreamy.
yeah. So you could scale that up. You could get more buyers agents, and uh, you could always scale that with the volume
Yeah.
of leads. That seems
Yeah.
like a nice middle ground to maintain.
Yeah, right now I tend to attract buyers agents though that want to start their own thing,
Hmm.
that are a lot like me in some ways,
Sure.
especially in terms of like ambition. So
Yeah.
I need to find people that are a little more comfortable with just working with clients and like it.
Yeah.
So I
It.
want to add a few more of those, even if they already are doing some business on their own and I'm giving them a couple deals a year until they want to move over entirely.
Hmm. It's funny because like that person that you need almost seems a little counter to your message.
I know. I need them to be super employable.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you
I
do
know.
with that?
Yeah, it's a unique
What do you do
dichotomy to
with
be
like
faced right now.
unemployability not being for everyone?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
But I would also want them to think of their work for me as building their own business and building their own reputation and that kind of
Totally.
thing.
Totally. And stepping into something like that role that you're talking about might be a huge step up in freedom and autonomy
Exactly.
for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Like that might be stepping out in a as much as they're ever going to need to in their life, and that might be enough. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of those people, like, they're surprised how little I micromanage.
Yeah, sure.
When it's like, I brought a new girl on recently. She's done 6 deals, but I just had a good feeling about her. She reached out to me, sent a really
Mhm.
good intro. We had a good conversation. And I had her join, first time I met her in person, had her join with a client for lunch.
Yeah.
I was like, just pretend like we know each other better than we do. And I was like, okay, so you guys are here a couple days. I'm gonna have Caitlin show you a couple places on Wednesday, and we'll kind of go from there. And like, these clients didn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're excited that they have somebody there to help them. They mostly just are looking for their dream outcome, right?
Right.
So the dream outcome is the house they want, the budget they want, the timeline they want,
Mhm.
with people they like working with.
Totally.
That's it. If we can provide that very seamlessly, they don't care.
Yeah.
Occasionally, people are like, actually, can I just work with you? I usually say no. Um, but I said yes to someone recently. I'm taking them out on Saturday. And so they didn't really care. Caitlin will do great. And then I'll be here to answer any questions.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. This brand is you.
Yeah.
It's scaling really well. Uh, it'll continue to scale well as long as it's your intention to do so. When you move on to something else,
Yeah.
what happens to this brand? Do you introduce a co-host and hand off the reins and retain ownership and pop in every now and then? Do you sell it? Like, can you sell a brand like this because it's so you-centric?
Yeah. So the guys that kind of are above me in Denver, they're kind of dealing with that right now too.
Okay.
So they're trying to figure out, okay, what if we want to move into a bigger market and keep building our downline?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do we keep this thing going in Denver and then move somewhere else too and start
Yeah.
building not the same kind of thing, not a consumer facing YouTube channel, but how do we keep growing our influence?
Yeah.
in the real estate space. So they're really kind of working to automate their team there and really keep making videos too. They have people there that can get B-roll. They'll go back once a quarter and capture some content, but they'll just shoot videos in an office.
Okay.
And I mean, like I shoot a lot of my videos in my office.
Yeah.
People don't ask, "Are you in Tampa?" I happen to be, but people don't ask
Sure.
that, Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mix in enough videos that are outside with palm trees behind and stuff like that too.
Yeah. So
But a lot of
that's
guys shoot videos on a green screen.
right. That's
They do great business.
and that's a way to. I mean, that's like the next step of removal to like win some of your time back and continue to scale it. But I'm saying like when your head is no longer in this space and you're like building a bank somewhere or
Yeah.
doing something like whatever it is 5 years from now, I can't imagine it would be much further down the road than that because you're moving fast. Like when you don't have headspace anymore for it, what do you do with a brand like this?
Well, it would take steps. So first, it would take how little headspace does it take? Like how can I maintain this level with less of my energy?
Sure.
Because I think I could do all of the work within 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
at that point, which is just shooting the A-roll for the videos.
Mm-hmm.
Those go off to an editor. I have, an admin team that manages like incoming clients. If they really want to talk to me, like here's a 10-minute slot with Sam. You know what I mean? It could
Sure.
just be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, we'll, that incoming person, which I have this idea, I want to hire somebody from like a hotel front desk.
Hmm.
Because I want it to be that kind of vibe, this kind of like hospitality, like
Yeah. A
we're
concierge.
so excited to help you. Let me make sure we get your information in here, make sure we get you taken care of, get you connected to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Could Sam give you a call tomorrow at 9? Is that okay? Like that kind of a thing. And
Yeah, I think you just described a secretary, but
yeah, but I want them to have more like ownership of. I want these people to be really happy.
yeah, if that front point is your first, not sales experience, but first team experience,
Yeah.
and that person has more ownership than just a secretary, then yeah, you're right. It'd be a
Yeah.
different emotional experience.
I have a friend who he runs the client experience team for the baseball team here.
Hmm.
And he's worked at like big Disney hotels in the past.
Yeah.
And I was kind of telling him what I want to find eventually for that. And he's like, "Oh yeah, send me the job description." He's like, "I'll punch it up so that it will attract hospitality people."
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, super interesting doing something like that because I think that would be fine. And also now, like at the scale we're at, when I say I'm going to connect you with my agent or you don't need me at this point, like the clients are mostly like, "Yeah, great." Who
Yeah.
cares? They don't
Sure.
care. They understand that I'm busy. Like they don't question that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not as busy as they actually think I am. But that makes me think of one of these stories I wanted to tell of Daniel. Daniel went through the website and scheduled a call. And I need to change my website because I don't want people to be able to do that anymore. I want them to have to like contact us before they have the option to schedule a call.
Mm.
But right now there's like you can say I want to buy a house and you fill out this form and then it kind of vets you, and if you like answer all the questions, it's like, okay, do you want to schedule a call as well?
Got it.
So Daniel scheduled a call on my birthday in the morning, and I was out for breakfast with a friend. So I texted my agent and said, "Hey, can you call Daniel at this time? Just tell him I was busy." So he called him. Then Daniel came in. That was a Thursday, and then Daniel and his wife came in town on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and went under contract on a house.
Okay.
I called Daniel and left a voicemail just saying, "Hey, congratulations. This is Sam. Well, I know we never got to talk, but if you need anything, I'm always here. This is my cell phone." Never heard back. They seem happy.
Yeah.
So it happens like that quite a bit, you know?
That's great. I love that the end of that story was like, yeah, never heard back. But
Yeah.
that's
I mean, they're under contract. I'll
yeah,
make
it's
like
incredible.
$4,000.
Totally. It was solved so effortlessly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I feel like my brand is maintained. Like they're taken care of. I went ahead and
Yeah.
reached out to them. I'm reachable. Like,
Yep.
all those kind of things. Another one yesterday, the lady texted and just kind of told me a little bit of story. We moved to Florida from Southern California. We're in this area renting right now, but we think we want to come up to the Tampa area, and this is what we're looking for. If
Yeah.
you're interested in engaging in this conversation, reach out. I had a little window of time, so I just called her like right away,
Mm-hmm.
like within 2 minutes of her sending the text. And she was taken aback a little bit, like, whoa,
Sure.
I didn't even like step up from my computer yet. I was like, let's talk about it. How can I help you? And they want to buy a house on the water, not a
Mhm.
huge house, but that's still close to $1 million here. And they have up to 900,000 cash to spend. They want to come in town this weekend and look at this one house. And
Yeah.
I don't have any time this weekend. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm super booked this weekend, but I let me check with my agents. Let me make sure you have somebody to show you this place. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to connect you with my top agent, Ben. He'll take great care of you. And they're like, awesome plan. Thanks so much. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I hardly did anything
Sure.
for this.
Sure. That's great. So the systems are working.
They are, yeah.
With your
For the highest intent people, they work really, really well.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we can solve problems really fast.
Mhm.
For the lower intent people that need a lot more work,
Yeah.
that's where I need someone, some kind of administrator to work those leads and stay in touch with them.
And is that concierge that you're talking about?
I think it would be, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
it's
so another client, go ahead.
so that's a little bit more of a hybrid role between an administrator and a buyer's agent. It's like
Yeah.
they're kind of doing some of that. They're taking a lot off of a buyer's agent's plate.
Yeah,
Actually.
the industry would call that an inside sales agent.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So they're still trying to convert leads into clients,
Yep.
and then the buyer's agent would be converting the client into like a closed client.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just compartmentalizes that a little bit.
So that position probably isn't showing homes, but is maybe sending options to them and narrowing down sort of their taste and area and like all that kind of data.
Yeah, or even it's like making sure, hey, you said you're going to come out in May. Are you still planning on doing that?
Yeah.
So many times people are like, oh, that didn't work out. We can't come out till July. Like, okay, great. Like, I'll reach out again next month and just
Yep.
say, hey.
Yep. Got it.
And the thing is, people are okay with you reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
So one client, David, he called me on a Sunday. Fun to connect with him. Had some unique interests and he had some houses in mind already. Thought we were going to consider. They didn't really work out. Then I was just kind of working with him myself. He's interested in this place, and I just like couldn't get there all week to like show him the place.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a great option for him anyway, so I wasn't that worried about it. And it went under contract, and he was disappointed. I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm dropping the ball for you. I need to connect you with my buyer's agent. He'll take better care of you. So my agent called him, and he was like pretty upset.
Ah.
Yeah, like you guys screwed me over.
Because he lost that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben connected with him and kind of was like, let me know we're here for you. Like, let me go show you this place tomorrow. This other place you're interested in. Like, and Ben was thinking like, let's just get a couple small wins for this guy. He might come around.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want that place, and then didn't text Ben back for like 3 months.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, we probably lost him. My bad.
Yeah.
And some of, me even building the YouTube channel was to be able to shrug that kind of stuff off.
Yeah.
He called on Sunday. Called Ben on Sunday. I was like, hey, I think I want to write an offer on this house. Now he's under contract.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Yeah. He had a little cool down period and came back.
Yeah. But Ben probably texted him 10 times.
Yeah.
He didn't respond ever. People are okay with you reaching out.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal to them.
Sure.
And I mean, just like me, like they're like, oh, I can't respond to this right now. I'll do it later, and they forget.
Right.
I do that all the time.
Totally. Yeah. I guess it is still a service relationship. It is still like you and your mechanic. It's you and
It
whoever
is. It's
else.
not a
And
friendship.
yeah. Totally. And
Some
you
people really want it to feel that way, and then they behave differently. But most people don't.
Yeah. And it's probably, it's probably a great experience if that person's wanting to be your friend, but it seems like an unnecessary level of connection for the goal, for the mutual goal of just getting this person in the right house.
Yeah. And the goal, like our place in it is just to like really listen to them and have their best interest in mind.
Totally. Yeah.
Plenty of clients are like, I can't wait to have you and your family over for dinner. But most of them aren't.
Have you ever taken anybody up on that?
No.
Yeah.
One client, they moved here from like Vancouver area. They just rented at first. But
Okay.
like I've gone out to lunch with them a few times.
Cool.
And I don't even know if they'll buy this year. But we've
Yeah.
just kind of become friends. I introduced them to like some of my in-laws and they've become good friends with them. It's
That's
kind of
awesome.
funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. Those are just like a couple stories that stood out to me. So yeah, some of it is working. The brand kind of does represent something to people.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to scale it yet.
It it sounds like another buyer's agent in my mind it seems like the right step if you have enough lead flow. And
Yeah.
then maybe an additional that like concierge position. Inside sales agent, that's what you call them?
Yeah. Which Caitlin may be willing to do that, even though she would grow out of it, you know.
Yeah.
But if she could do that and document it and then train the next person,
It'd be a great way to build a buyer's agent internally too.
yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Hmm.
I'm also doing more deals myself right now,
Mm-hmm. To get
which
that sweet, sweet cash.
yeah, definitely like is a big boost.
Hey, you bought a home or you're under contract.
Yeah,
How's that feel?
it's fine.
It's a
It's
cool
our,
house.
it's our third house in 5 years.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's fun to like reconnect with what it's like to be a real estate client.
Uh-huh.
It's so stressful.
Do you this is a stupid question, but are you your own agent in that deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the seller still pays a commission to me, but that'll
Right.
just get like wrapped into the closing costs, just reduce our cash
Sure.
out of pocket.
Yeah. Um when does that close?
Not till the middle of next month. And then we're gonna have the floors redone, like
Okay.
tile torn out and laminate flooring torn out, and have it all the same throughout,
Before
which I
you
think
move
will
in?
be crazy expensive.
Yeah, sounds like it. It's a lot of square footage.
But it's not like we're not putting in hardwood floors or anything.
Yeah.
It'll be like 2,000 square feet, and I think it'll end up costing about $10 a foot, so like 20 grand.
Whew. That's a
Yeah,
lot of sandwiches.
I know. It is.
Man.
Um, we'll see.
Okay.
I might do some of it myself, or I
Well,
could just sell another house.
yeah, there you go.
So that's a unique dilemma right now. It's like, okay, do I just like spend 2 weeks working with a client and like sell a house, or do I like do this big project and stress about it?
Do you enjoy setting tile?
No, it wouldn't be tile; it'd be luxury vinyl. Um,
Luxury vinyl.
yeah,
Don't
LVP,
don't do
luxury
it.
vinyl planks.
Sell two more houses and pay somebody.
I don't even need to sell two more. I just need to sell one more.
Great. Do that. That's
Yeah.
the obvious better path.
Okay. I just need somebody to tell me that.
Yeah, do the thing that you're good at already and pay somebody to do the thing that they're good at.
I found a handyman up in that area that like specifically says he specializes in flooring. I'm gonna reach out to him.
Cool.
We have the
Yeah.
inspection at the house tomorrow. I'll be up there for most of the day. And in Florida, you do all kinds of inspections. Specific stuff for insurance, they call a 4-point inspection.
Okay.
They like make sure certain mechanicals work, make sure the
Mhm.
roof doesn't have leaks. But then they'll do like a termite inspection. I'm not actually gonna have the pool inspected.
Oh, okay.
Just gonna go for it.
It looks fine in the photos.
It's operational. You know,
Yeah, you
like
just
they use it and they take care of it.
yeah, you just got to check it for alligators and then move on, right?
So the owners they moved here from Ohio 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and there's a pond that's probably 50 yards behind the property, and they were scared of alligators, so they put in a big privacy fence.
Nice.
And he's never seen an alligator since he even lived here, anywhere.
Amazing, but now you
Yeah,
got a bonus privacy fence.
yeah, it's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah,
Oh, branding on the podcast looks good. Like where you
Thanks.
landed. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I think it's good. I posted an Instagram story before this. Just the podcast is a lot of fun for me, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of work for me too.
Yeah.
And weekly is challenging.
Yeah, you're cranking them out way faster than we are. I need to sit down and cut another one. I'm working on episode 4, and you're already on like probably thinking about episode 8.
6 is published.
Yeah.
8's already shot. 9 and 10 are scheduled for Friday and Monday.
Jeez. Yeah.
I'm curious how. So we're recording this on Riverside. I'm curious how that will cut together. If I can just like export a cut version.
Yeah, I think you will be able to. We were working with it initially. We were testing with it, but we were just having connection and a couple of hardware issues, and so we pivoted to.
I
And
feel like
ours
it
is
worked
just
okay this time.
audio anyway. Yeah, we haven't had any dropouts. It seems like it's been pretty seamless. There's a little bit of lag, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should probably be able to just export out of it. Let me know how that works out.
Yeah, so I did it previously. I exported like a Premiere file,
Uh-huh.
but I'm curious if you can export just like a side by side. You probably can.
Yeah, interesting.
What do you think about publishing it on YouTube as a side by side like this?
I kind of like it.
I kind of do too.
Yeah. I'll figure out the phone connection thing because it'd be a lot better picture quality.
Yeah.
Or I'll just get a camera to plug in. I replaced my home computer with a much more powerful M2 Mac Mini. The price to power ratio on those is nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's awesome. No, I think we could figure out how to get your phone to work.
Yeah, I'll look into it. Cool. This has been great. Let me know as this
Yeah, so tell me,
evolves
you
in your
still haven't told me
mind.
like how I should scale everything and make it all better.
Well, I think you
You
should.
kind of did.
Yeah, I think you should start with one or
Your
both
answer was
of
pretty
those
much like I'm
hires.
already doing it. Like just
Kind
keep
of.
doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really interested about that inside sales agent. That's new to me, and that feels like a nice intermediary that will help you and that buyer's agent a lot.
Yeah. I don't really want a fixed expense though.
Well, you're already sort of accepting fixed expenses with editorial. I know it's per video, but it's not a salary, but maybe you can just figure out a different compensation structure for that person that is more pinned to performance than
Yeah.
a traditional
Or maybe that's
secretarial
just
position.
what you have to do to become a preferred buyer's agent for my clients.
Like boot camp?
Yeah. More like an internship.
Sure.
That's something that Shelby does is she hires a lot of interns.
Yeah.
Like how do you convince people to do that?
With money.
Or potential for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the route. I might have to fire my video editor again. This will be the second time I've fired the same editor.
Spending a lot
She's
of
just
time.
falling behind with no explanation.
Yeah.
I'm okay with like, oh, I could only get one done this week, but just tell me that and tell me why.
Yeah, sure.
Was it a harder edit? Like what? It could have been all kinds of things.
It's just how many videos is she doing?
4 a week.
That's a lot of videos.
I mean, it's 4 days of work a week. It's not that much.
She can do one a day?
Yeah. Takes her about 6 hours, even with revisions,
Okay.
to do one.
So she might just not be managing her client load well enough. Is that kind of what
Yeah.
you're thinking?
But I
Well.
can't deal with that really,
Yeah, start shopping around.
which is just a pain. So I talked to a service yesterday that's in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and I like their structure, but they only will edit one video at a time. It would be a 3-day turnaround to get version 1,
Yeah.
and then it's 1 day for revisions. You know, if you get revisions back to them, they'll get them done in 1 day.
Okay.
But so then that's a 4-day cycle for a video,
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be able to publish 2 a week
Hmm.
because that cycle would eventually just be too long.
If it's just a per video cost and you're not getting a bulk discount, what would prevent you from just cutting the current editor's workload in half and starting to do half with the Philippines?
Style, I guess. Style would differ a little bit.
But you kind of have a style guide to some extent.
Yeah, it's true. I do have an actual style guide, not just
And I
kind of.
think, which is great. And I think that's probably going to become more useful and more necessary as you scale. So this would be a good opportunity to test that. And you could find holes in that style guide where one editor is interpreting something differently than the other, and you can clarify those things.
Yeah. And this company does have a package where they'll edit 3 videos at a time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Is it-
more expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine it's as affordable as the current editor that you have now.
It's pretty close.
Really?
Yeah, it's like $9.50 a month or something
Okay.
for like 12 videos a month.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's so cheap.
But then it's like they can't be over 15 minutes long. There's a lot of motion graphics they won't do, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
But at
that
that price,
covers
they would
probably,
even like.
I mean, that's
Oh, yeah,
probably
it covers
covering
everything.
80% or 90% of your videos, right?
Oh yeah. And like they watch some of my videos and they're like, "What about this map animation you did?" I'm like, "No, that was like me doing a stop motion animation. Like I would not expect anything like that, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
That was just me having fun
Yeah.
because I didn't have any clients yet."
Cool.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, let me know.
Thanks for your time.
Let me know where you land with that. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you in
I feel like we just talked
I don't
about
know,
nothing.
a week or two. I'm headed out on a job for a couple of weeks, but I'll bring
Oh,
my
yeah.
rig. I might bring my rig with me, or we can just touch base at the end of May.
Yeah. End of May.